This is going to be a video about non-duality, but it's going to be unscripted and unplanned, so let's see what comes out of my mouth. I'm Russ Rapp, and this is my YouTube channel where I'm bringing you new ways of seeing non-duality. And so for this video, I'm basically going off script and just saying whatever comes to mind. There's not going to be any retakes, even though technically there was already two, but we're just going to forget about that. Because I think when you look at non-duality, I think a lot of times videos on YouTube kind of fit the same mold. And when I try to bring you videos, I want to have good ideas, because I think if you capture the interest of the person, they're more likely to sit with your message a little longer. But, what happens is, there are communicators that are better than others, and I feel like, for me personally, I'm better at writing and kind of thinking behind the scenes. When I come and try to talk to the camera, sometimes it doesn't come out the right way, and I'm trying to do this video almost like in a live version, even though this isn't live, because when I've tried live using my phone before, it never really works out too well. So this is as live as it's going to be, so it's, like I said, it's unscripted, but technically not really unplanned, because today I went for a run a few hours ago, and regardless of wanting to be spontaneous and unplanned on my run, my mind continued to think, okay, well, what am I going to say? What's the intro going to be? Am I going to do a good job? What's the topic really going to eventually amount to? And so when I say that it's really unplanned, it's, in a way not unplanned. And I think for you, the viewer, you want to see a video that makes sense. But I think when it comes to videos on non-duality, I think the idea is the less seemingly planned it is, and the more off the cuff, the more people resonate with that, or the more it's believable. And so oftentimes you'll see people just kind of staring at the camera, like I did in my other video about the disinterested stare. But when they sit there and just kind of say paradox type of things, where there is no self, there is a self, and kind of go back and forth. There is no you, there is no self and other. It's kind of a thing that people can't really grasp onto, and so in a way though, when you portray it in that sense, really it makes it seem like, okay, I've achieved some sort of level of awareness, or some sort of non-dual type of understanding that you don't have, you right there in the video. Because right now I'm sitting in my bedroom technically, and I'm talking to a little black circle that I can hardly see on my camera, and so that's actually what's happening right now. But when you're watching this video, to you it is live, because there is really no difference in time, in a sense, where even if I made this video in the past, your experience is always in the present. But when you say present, it always assumes a past and a future, and that's where you get all confused and stuff. So the other thing with non-dual videos is, you see a lot of the speakers will have some sort of regalia behind them. I like my picture of the river here, that I actually took that picture of the dam, so that's my work right there. But anyway, when you see people, a lot of times you get credibility when you're speaking to an audience or a group, because I think when it comes to non-dual, people look at, or any type of a message, it's how many followers you have, how many views you have, or are people listening. And so if someone like me gets up here and talks to you about non-duality, the question you would have is like, well, who is this guy? What gives him the ability to talk about non-duality? What's his, has he had some sort of big awareness or peak experience, or whatever you want to call it? But when it comes to non-duality, that's not really the question you should ask yourself, because then you're kind of missing the point. And that's when you kind of get the whole idea of the status of the guru, or the person that knows something that you don't, that you are seeking. And there's nothing wrong with being a seeker. I think people, when it comes to that term, they think, okay, on the one hand, I could realize I don't know anything and just not care and go along with daily life. But for a seeker, you recognize your ignorance, and then you strive to do something about it. And so you get this payoff of being a seeker and saying, I know my life sucks, or I know I can't control my thoughts, or whatever, but at least I'm doing something about it. And so you get something out of that, but you're kind of missing the whole point. And when you go to hear a speaker non-duality, you know, you're expecting them to be and act in a certain way where, you know, they don't seem to have a care in the world, and they'll just stare at you blankly and that sort of a thing. And that's kind of getting off track, because the whole message of non-duality is that, you know, whether you're a good speaker and you can kind of lay out how the separate self or the ego, whatever you want to call it, how that actually works and operates internally in that kind of inner world, if you can communicate that effectively, more people kind of grasp onto that. But at the same time, if you have someone that can communicate, as long as they're talking about the message of non-duality, they're all kind of saying the same thing, because non-duality literally means not two. And so when you have this idea that the better the person can communicate, the more clear they are, then you start losing the whole grasp of the message. Because, you know, I go on here and I do this video. It may make sense or may not make sense. Maybe I'm a good communicator, maybe I'm not. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because you are non-dual. You are the non-dual awareness. It has nothing to do with me communicating to you. The person that is sitting, listening to this video, is just as equipped to talk about non-duality as this person right here. And you can get into the whole, well, there is no person and stuff, but those are just words. And so, you know, on my run today, I remember thinking that, you know, I could feel the wind. I could feel gravity, you know, feel the wind as I ran down the street. And I think that level of awareness that we call the self, or the thing that I identify with as being me, is kind of that outer layer, that idea that, you know, I feel the wind. The wind is something that's affecting me, so the wind is separate than me. And so that, in a sense, gives me that sense of who I am, this person running down the street with gravity pulling me down, making me feel heavy, making me wear myself out, and then the wind hitting my skin kind of gives us this barrier of separation. But if you think of it in terms of like your organs are at a cellular level, on that level, they're not thinking at all of the wind, because that wind is not affecting you. So that internal experience, that layer of consciousness, if you will, isn't experiencing that outer layer. So really, this idea of being me is kind of that thing that comes from the neocortex that people identify as being human, asking those existential questions about who am I and do I really exist. That, in a sense, is what makes you you. So in a way, I think therefore I am is actually a true statement, but only in as far as that understanding. And so what else do I want to say? I don't know, we're getting close to about 8 minutes of the video. I just want to say, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'm going to keep bringing you videos with kind of some fresh ideas of different ways of looking at it. Hopefully I can package them in good ways that, you know, you can kind of absorb. But at the end of the day, the whole message of non-duality is that there is no separation. There is nothing you have to learn. And so the idea of these videos is to kind of get you to understand that you are not lesser and someone else has something you don't have. So go out and make your own non-dual videos and stammer and stutter, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So subscribe to my channel, you know, like this video or don't like it. You know, I actually would really prefer comments, because I like interacting with people. Once I get a little bigger following, I like to be doing more interactive type discussions, because I think that would be interesting and kind of add life to these videos. But in the meantime, if you could at least subscribe, comment below, and I'll make sure I try to comment back in a timely manner. I just want to say peace. It's been real, unreal, whatever you want to say. Until next time.